Some people just know the best rate for you is a rate based on you with Allstate. Not one based on the driver who treats the highway like a racetrack and the shoulder like a passing lane. Why pay a rate based on anyone else? Get one based on you with DriveWise from Allstate.
Not available in Alaska or California, subject to terms and conditions. Rates are determined by several factors, which vary by state. In some states, participation in DriveWise allows Allstate to use your driving data for purposes of rating. While in some states, your rate could increase with high-risk driving. Generally, safer drivers will save with DriveWise. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Hey guys, do you know your T-level? Revive Men's Health here in Salt Lake City is helping you take that first step toward better health and enhanced intimacy with a free testosterone level test, exam, and consultation. Plus, for this month only, qualified patients can kickstart their treatment with a free supply of ED medication. Call Revive Men's Health Salt Lake City at 801-263-7777. That's 801-263-7777. Or visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com.
Welcome to the KSL Home Show. Brought to you by Osmond Designs. We open the doors for local home buyers and sellers with a fast-moving show about Utah real estate and home design. Here's Heather Osmond and Lindsay Ertz on KSL News Radio 102.7 FM and 1160 AM.
Welcome on into the Home Show this week. Thank you for joining us. Happy as always to be with you on a weekend where we get to talk about Utah's real estate market, interior design with Heather Osmond of Osmond Designs. Heather, how are you?
I'm doing awesome. How are you, Lindsay? Good to see you.
Good. So good to be with you. Okay, Utah's real estate market is hot, but we also have a crisis on our hands of affordable housing. So it's interesting that those two things are conflicting out there.
It sure is, and that is definitely a hot topic across the state of Utah. Of course, we all want affordable housing, but not in our backyard. A lot of people are talking about the apartments, the condos, and the type of people that brings, the rental aspect as part of that. Today we have Drew Armstrong here with us. Today we have Drew Armstrong on the show with us. Welcome back, Drew. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Good. You are one of the owners of UtahRealEstate.net. You and Matthew Flinders today.
Where's Flinders?
I know. Where is Flinders today?
He's making jokes elsewhere.
Yes.
Tell him we miss him.
He is probably working with clients. Good on him.
I think he is.
Good. Drew.
Yes.
Let's talk about this. You have so much experience with not only planning commission, city council. You are a developer. Your full-time job is to help buyers, sellers, and investors here in Utah. You're one of the best. Give us your perspective on what's going on here.
Oh, thank you. We've sold a couple of properties recently that I do want to kind of talk about what the experience was like for the sellers out in Daybreak, where we're getting multiple offers every single time. Every single time. The market actually slowed down just a little bit in September and October, and it's picked right back up to where it was before. And so I do want to talk a little bit about what expectations are as far as that goes, and what pricing is like, and what the economists that work for the U have projected our appreciation is going to be this year versus what it was last year. But I will tell you that the thing that is the strangest thing for me is to read articles on KSL where it asks about growth, and it asks about new development and things like that. And I'm reading through these, and everybody is not for growth. They're not happy about it. They're not happy about more housing being built. And yet at the same time, they're frustrated with housing not being affordable anymore. And it's like, well, I was an econ major at BYU. So it's like, how do you prevent things from going up in price, right? You make more of them. And I think
supply and demand, right? Classic.
Absolutely is. And it has become so difficult. So I served on the Pleasant Grove Planning Commission for 4 years. And then I served on the Utah County Planning Commission for 2 more years after that. And now I'm on the design review board or something, so I'm pretty involved in the city end of the development process. And I can tell you, I think that the number one problem that we have with affordable housing, the thing that we can affect the most and the most quickly is to help developers be able to develop faster. But the problem is that people look at it and they're going, oh, those rich developers, they're all politicians or whatever. They're
just in it for the money,
they're
right?
in it for the money. And you know what? Those guys, a lot of them do make a lot of money.
Well, and they do have to make money, or why would they do it?
Exactly. But the point is that if we have more people that want to buy a product than is available, then the price goes up. And that's what we have, and we've had that for a long time. And we can correct that a little bit by making it more expensive to buy things. And there are a couple ways that you can make real estate more expensive. One is interest rates, right? Yeah. So if they increase interest rates, which we're talking about doing,
and it's happening a little bit already.
It is. And it probably needs to because of inflation. So
sure.
that's how you slow the market down. You slow the economy down a little bit by increasing the interest rates that are still at record lows.
Right.
But if they can do that, that might help a little bit. But the other way is that you just make more of a product so people aren't fighting over it so much. And you know, I know that a lot of people would really like more Toyota Tacomas to be built right now.
Yeah.
But we need more condominiums, and we need more homes, and we need more of everything as far as housing goes. And if you have more, then it makes it so that people are not willing to bid it up because they'll just wait for the next one, and the next one comes and it's fine. But the last house that I sold that was out in Daybreak, it had 11 offers, and then we accepted one, a great offer, and the next day the rate jumped a little bit, and they backed out, and we put it right back under contract for $5,000 more than we had it under contract for before. And it was already up by about $35,000 over the asking price. And this is in February.
Yeah.
You know, and so you look at that and you're going, okay, we really have a problem. We sold a condo out there, a townhouse out there for $650,000 and had people fighting over it. And so, when we're in a situation like that and we see, like last year, we had about an average of 30% appreciation across the board on the Wasatch Front. And this year so far, the economists up at the U said that we're looking at probably a 8 to 10% increase. I think that we're looking at more. I think
it's higher. Yeah.
I think we're probably looking at 15, 20%. I don't think. I
100% agree. I think nationally that probably is true, but I think Utah is at the top end of every national trend that's out there. We are exploding here in Utah.
We are. And part of it is that, people, you read the remarks and they're like, well, the job market is too good, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I guess it's too good. But I mean, it's frustrating if you're trying to hire somebody.
It is. Everyone's trying to hire. You go to any facility, any restaurant, anything. Yep. Hospitals, everyone's hiring.
Everybody's hiring, but the problem is they're hiring at a price where people can't afford their housing.
Right.
And so what ends up happening is we see inflation, because what ends up happening is now the employer has to pay a little bit more money in order to attract a good candidate, because there are a lot of other people that are also hiring. And that candidate is going to hold out for a little more money because they can't afford a house that's close to where they live. Where they work. So that's where inflation comes from. That's what we're dealing with. But the way that you can fix that is by making more housing.
And I feel like Vineyard is one of those cities right now that is being innovative. They are almost the entire city will allow accessory apartments. So that makes it so that people can buy a home. They rent that basement apartment. They use that as income, or they rent the entire upstairs and live in the basement, or it's becoming just a huge mecca for students.
Well, here's the thing, Heather. Last year, and this is one of those things that right now we're in the middle of the legislative session. Last year, the legislature in Utah passed a bill that was House Bill 82 that allows, except in college towns that have a certain amount of people, it can't be a little, University of Phoenix kind of thing. It has to be like BYU, UVU, University of Utah, Weber State, or Utah State, those are the cities that don't absolutely allow this. But even there, they're regulated. They have to provide a certain amount of area in their zoning code that allows for accessory apartments, and that's new. But everywhere else, Vineyard, for example, Sandy, American Fork, every other city, now you can have a legal accessory apartment. Now you have to live there, but the city ordinance cannot override that. It's state law, and neither can your homeowners association. So your homeowners association can't say you can't have an accessory apartment. Now you have to live in it. It
can't be a duplex. You have to be owner occupied.
Yeah, exactly. Not carte blanche acceptance of duplexes.
Right.
But that's one of those things. If we can get more units that are available, no matter how we get them, then hopefully that will protect our affordability a bit.
Oh, for sure. And I think people are starting to get very creative. Drew, I know most of your kids are raised. Most of my kids are raised. I only have 2 left at home. And we talked about, even before the show, I probably would not let my kids rent from me or live in my home if they were married with their kids. We're in a position where we want our kids to learn responsibility. So even if we had to help them a little bit to have someone else be their landlord, or maybe we have to co-sign with them, just trying to help them be a little more
Get
independent.
on their feet. Yeah,
yes.
Absolutely.
And I think more parents are doing that because they are having to live in basement apartments, or they are being creative and having their parents move in with them, even middle-aged families, because they need that extra money to be able to even afford a home.
Absolutely. For me, I think the only exception that I would have to that, I mean, for me, that's kind of a rule. But the only exception is like if you're providing student housing for your kid,
right?
Then
absolutely.
Then I'm okay with that, because they aren't able to qualify for housing on their own.
So true. Today we have Drew Armstrong with UtahRealEstate.net on the show. I'm Heather Osmond, owner of Osmond Designs Furniture and Interior Design Stores. Today we're talking everything Utah real estate. We're so glad you joined us. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
It's the KSL Home Show, sponsored by Osmond Designs. If you like talking about Utah homes and real estate, then this is the place on KSL News Radio.
Welcome on in to the Home Show today. Thank you for joining us. If you are just joining us, I'm Lindsay Aerts here with Heather Osmond, who owns Osmond Designs in Lehigh and in Orem. Heather, how are you?
I'm doing awesome. How are you, Lindsay?
So good. Okay, we've been talking about Utah real estate. We've been talking about affordable housing, how we have very little of it here. We have a situation where we live in a bowl, and so we can only go so far east and west without running into mountains, and so we're having to spread north and south, up, and I don't think we've gone down yet.
Not quite down yet.
We've gone in all directions to try to create housing. But it's so interesting to me that, Drew Armstrong is with us as well. He's with UtahRealEstate.net. You guys talk a lot about how developers are looking for creative ways to provide housing right now.
Absolutely. And Drew and I, this is a hot topic for us because Drew has served in city council planning commissions, design commissions. I do interior design. My husband and I have done a lot of development. I know, Drew, you and Matthew, your partner in your firm, have also done a lot of development. And so I'd say we're pro-development, but within reason, right? Yeah. We want our cities to be beautiful. So we don't want overdevelopment, but this housing shortage in Utah, we have to do something. There's a desperate need for it. I know in Pleasant Grove right now you are getting ready to break ground on a property. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Sure. So a few years ago, when I was on the planning commission, a client called me up and they said, Drew, I need some help selling a lot that was right on Main Street. And I had just gone to it's the APA, the American Planners Association conference that they send you to if you're involved in planning or anything like that, even as a citizen planner, which is what my job was with the city. And I had gone to some classes on what downtowns are doing these days and redevelopment of downtowns. And, when I was going to BYU, I was involved in a business that was right downtown on Main Street in Provo. And I ended up being the secretary of the Downtown Business Owners Alliance. And so I've always been interested in downtowns. I also worked with the committee that was put together to save the BY Library or the Academy and turned it into the library. And so I love historic old downtowns, and I love that kind of feel that you get. If you go up into Holiday, I don't know if you've been to Holiday recently, but it's quaint and it's cozy, interesting, and you can walk from your condo down to a nice restaurant or sit on the roof or the patio over at Harmon's after getting something at their little cafe, and property values there have skyrocketed more than other areas because what they have done as far as the development goes is so in demand. And so a few years ago, I put together a group and we built a building right on downtown it's a mixed use building. It has a couple of storefronts and it has 4 apartments upstairs. And we are in the process of doing the next stage of that, where we're going to build 5 storefronts. And it looks turn of the century. It has to. The building code that we have in our city requires that it looks turn of the century, quaint, has a full brick face, interesting brick that we're trying to match what the existing old buildings that were there looked like as far as the look and feel of them. So it looks turn of the century. And we're going to build a multi-story building with about 20 housing units and 5 stores.
And that is so needed in that area. Pleasant Grove is one of those main streets that for a while there it was dying.
Yeah,
right? There were a lot of very, very great commercial spaces that were sitting there vacant, very run down, just needed a serious overhaul. And I think Pleasant Grove City has been very open to creative ideas to revitalize that area. And I think good on them.
And this type of change takes a long time.
It does.
It does. I mean, the code changes. I mean, there's still some that we've had to make and address in order to get this particular project to work. But the code changes that were made almost 20 years ago that are bringing around the transition from what it has been to where it is now. But, there's so many little businesses now where, they're like a quaint, nice storefront is perfect for Simplicity that we have down there. And there's one that's called Truffle Cottage
and the cupcake shop there, Cravings. Oh my gosh.
But
the best.
Half of their business goes online, or goes out the back door. And so they need a storefront. They like a storefront, but it's different than it has been in the past. And there's a need for having this kind of a situation rather than a strip mall that's over by the big grocery store.
Right.
And
rent is cheap.
Yep.
Right.
And they
so
fill
that's great.
up so fast. They're great. And then we have not had even a week's worth of vacancy in our properties that are down there because people love living. I mean, they can walk to 7 restaurants,
Hello.
They can walk over to the park or to the library or anything. And that takes me segues over to the fact that we who are more involved in our cities and a little older and know our city council people and talk to them and stuff, we don't understand the young first-time home buyers as well. I mean, talk to your kids because they want to live in that type of a housing situation. Me, I wanted a house with a yard. When I was still in school, I bought a house with a yard and had roommates in my house with a yard. And that's, of course, that's what I wanted. But the kids today, that's not what they want.
That's just a burden for them. I think they want a dog and they want to travel.
Yeah.
Right? So they want no liabilities, nothing holding them down so that they can just go have fun.
Yep. No, they do not want to mow a lawn.
No.
And that was, I mean, I look forward to that and to landscaping and all that kind of stuff. So
it's crazy. Okay. I want to give a shout out to Central Bank. Talk about a local bank that has invested in the state of Utah and in our community. Central Bank is trusted bankers and they are loyal friends of our KSL show. They've been serving Utah County for over 130 years and they are proud of the history and sustained growth and security. Since the economy began to falter in 2008, they have relied on their own reserves by not taking any bailout or TARP money. Evidence that they have remained strong and safe and secure since 1891. They believe in continuing progress, and it is a direct result of their dedication to caring for the individual needs and communities in Utah that they serve. Thank you, Central Bank. We are running out of time. Stay tuned. You are listening to the KSL Home Show. I am Heather Osmond, owner of Osmond Designs Furniture and Interior Design Stores. We have Drew Armstrong with UtahRealEstate.net. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Welcome to the KSL Home Show. Brought to you by Osmond Designs. We open the doors for local home buyers and sellers with a fast-moving show about Utah real estate and home design. Here's Heather Osmond and Lindsay Ertz on KSL News Radio 102.7 FM and 1160 AM.
Welcome back into the Home Show. Thank you for joining us. Here with Heather Osmond. She owns Osmond Designs in Lehigh and in Orem. And Drew Armstrong with us as well from UTRealEstate.net. I just sit back, fold my arms, and listen to you two talk shop about Utah's real estate and affordable housing and what we need to do in Utah. So feel free.
Lindsay, you're so awesome. You know, Drew Armstrong and I go way back. His partner, Matthew Flinders, back in the day over how many years ago?
25 years.
25 years. Yeah, we're not saying how old we are exactly, but we started in real estate very, very young, and we were all newbies together in the same office, and we were running around just trying to be puppy dogs and learn and absorb and
that means I've known you longer than I've not known you.
I know, that's cool.
Isn't that weird?
I know.
So
we have a lot of history, lots of funny stories. We've shared some of the funny bloopers of selling real estate. If you've listened to a previous show, that was a lot of fun. Sometime we'll have to just rerun that show because it was seriously one of my favorites.
Yeah, or we could think up the ones that got
continue.
left out. Yeah.
We have a lot more to share. But today we're talking about affordable housing. This is a hot topic all across Utah, and I don't think it's going away anytime soon.
It's not. And you know, as I've been doing this for 27 years. And so the truth is that I'm not a realtor who normally represents first-time home buyers, but I do because I've got clients that I've worked with for ages, and they're like, here, help my kids buy a condo, and so they send me out, and I go, I'm still very active in that market, or I've got a lot of clients that are buying them as, I think
investment properties.
Yeah, I sold 9 to one family last year.
That's awesome.
And so, because we can go out and find good deals and help them into it. And I've done it myself. And so I can teach them how to manage contracts and how to protect themselves and all that. And so we've done that. But the thing that's tough is when you get this young family that's been saving for a couple of years, and they've got $70,000 saved up so they can avoid mortgage insurance, and they're all excited about it. And you're kind of like, geez, guys, if you'd bought 2 years ago, you would have your $70,000 plus $70,000 worth of equity in your house or more. And it's so frustrating.
You just can't even stay up. That's the biggest problem. You can't save enough. The equity is going up faster than your your ability to save.
And then we've got people that I mean, because they're saying, hey, get my kids a house. And it's like, well, okay, where are we going to look? And they're like, well, I like my grandbabies. Can they be
kind of close? Yeah.
And you're going, your kids can't afford anything unless we go way out to the outskirts. Maybe we'll go out to Eagle Mountain proper, or way down in southern Utah County, or in Magna, or out in Tooele, or whatever, because they can't afford the stuff that is closer because there's not enough of it and people are fighting over it. And so it makes it so the prices have gone way up. Vineyard is kind of a neat little respite for Utah County because it's close to the freeway. It's close to transportation corridors, and it's such a big new area that, I mean, it's kind of like Utah County's Daybreak.
It is, and everything's new, and that younger crowd, they just love new.
They love it. It's not just new; it's the new style. That's what they want. Is they want more parks and open space. They don't want to maintain the park and open space. They want close to transportation and close to amenities, and they don't care about the yard. And they don't mind living close to their neighbors. They're okay with that. That's the way they've always lived, and they're comfortable with that. And they would, they value being able to ride their bike over and get on the new front runner station that's coming more than they would value a yard to let the dog out into.
For sure.
Or whatever.
No, and my oldest daughter actually purchased a home out there, and she's just a student age. She's 23 years old. She owns her first home. We helped her get into that, and she rents all of the rooms to other students. Yep. And she lives for free and makes money every month. It has a 4-car garage. It has a yard. It's a brand new home. I mean, she's got it going on, and she's already only lived in it for just over 2 years and has over $200,000 in equity. I mean, you can't even keep up working a full-time job to make that kind of money.
Right. We've got a really strange situation. We've got a yours, mine, and ours family in the family that I grew up in. And I've got a little sister. I am going to say how old I'm 52.
Yeah.
51. Got to remember. I'm 51. But
that would never happen to a woman.
It's
I'm
hard
just saying.
to remember.
We round down.
It is hard to remember. Once you get to a certain age, you're like, I don't even know what year it is.
What year am I?
Yeah.
I don't know.
But I've got a little sister who's 27.
Yeah.
She was born when I was in my second year home from an LDS mission, second year at BYU, and my mom had another baby, right? So I've got a younger sister. Her husband is a pilot for UPS. He's in his first year. They can't afford anything. They have a trial year, and then they move on. And I've been telling them for 5 years, buy a house, get on the bus, because it will leave without you.
It will leave, yes. And I think city councils right now are fighting that, right? They have the established neighbors that don't want development, that are screaming loudly, I don't want that in my neighborhood. I don't want condos. I don't want apartments. I don't want assisted livings. I don't want accessory apartments. I don't want any of that. And then we have kids, my kids, your kids.
Right.
All of these younger generation, even investors, need that single family home that is just turn and burn, right?
It's so crazy because it's the same problem, right? So it's like mom and dad or grandma and grandpa are like, don't put that high density housing. So there was in Cedar Hills, right? It was actually in Pleasant Grove. It's right on the border of Cedar Hills and Pleasant Grove along Canyon Road there. There was a large parcel of land that the school district owned. They had initially planned on putting a high school there. And obviously development went a little bit different, and they didn't need it anymore. And so about 4 or 5 years ago, the school district decides to sell it. And one of the proposals, now this is on the outskirts of Pleasant Grove, where Pleasant Grove saw that as kind of a rural housing area, or, half-acre lots kind of thing. And I was the planning commission chair at that point, and all these people showed up because the developers that we had 2 or 3 developers that said, okay, we're going to go in together. We'd like to make these really nice high-end townhouses out here. And what we'll do in exchange for changing the density of the zoning and increasing that out here is we'll give the city several soccer fields that will line up next to they had a park that's up there that has a pond, and we'll give you these soccer fields We'll develop them. We'll hand them over to the city. It was very needed. And I mean, it sounded like a great idea. And I had siblings that were buying super nice high-end townhouses up by the new, in Midvale, you know, and they're really, really nice townhouses that are out there. And I was like, that kind of makes sense. But the public clamor was insane. The neighbors all showed up, and they're like, we bought out here because we can have a cow.
Right.
And I walked through, like 2 years later, it's all developed out into, minimum, by the time they had the houses built, minimum sales price for a Rambler with an unfinished basement was like, $600,000, maybe more than that, because that's what the developers had to get for the land.
For sure.
And so I'm walking through this beautiful parade home, and I'm like, where's their goats? Where's the cow? Because all the neighbors said that's why we were holding this to 20,000 minimum square foot lots. And it's just crazy.
It's crazy. Okay, so this last couple of weeks, here's a personal story. My Orem Osmond design store. It was originally zoned commercial.
Right.
It used to be a lumber yard.
Right.
We purchased it at an auction. It sat on 7 acres. We sold the back 5 acres and paid off the store in the front 2 acres.
Smart.
It was awesome back in the day. Then it was rezoned. Orem City did a master plan and rezoned these core areas by each of the stoplights on State Street. Spent tens of thousands of taxpayer dollars.
Oh, probably hundreds.
Probably
with
hundreds.
Hours of,
I know.
And it's not like those master plans are not done in a vacuum. They bring all the community in.
Years and years of work, right? They rezoned my Orem Osmond Designs 2 acres that we have at higher than high density residential, which basically means I could have done a skyscraper, had to have commercial.
A big condo project.
Big condo projects, probably similar to what they did on Midtown Village, if you're familiar with that area. And just within the last couple of weeks, there was someone actually on another parcel just back behind our store that was trying to get a development through. They turned in their application. I think it was like a half acre is what he owned. And because it was zoned correctly, he can do a 7-story building there.
Oh, boy.
Of course, the neighbors just came out of the woodworks. And like you're saying, the city council, it's zoned that way. It has been zoned that way for several years. The neighbors just realized what was going on and maybe didn't pay as much attention back in the day as they should have. And now Orem City has scraped their entire original master plan that they've probably spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on. And now my property is zoned commercial again. So there's some crazy stuff going on. We all want affordable housing, but these cities are trying to be innovative and creative, and then they can't.
Was
because
this a
there's
function
so
of
much...
like how tall the building would have been, or like because clearly there's some issues there where I live in an area where the view might have gotten blocked if a tall enough building was built, and so a lot of our neighbors were like no tall buildings,
right? And a lot of this is just on the State Street corridor, right? So all of the residential homes are beyond that, but of course we all want a buffer. Right. So we want the residential single family homes. Then we want maybe twin homes, and then townhomes, and then of course condo complexes or commercial along those frontages. But Orem City, their hands are tied, and those neighbors made such a ruckus that even the Utah news organizations were there at the city council meeting and were pretty much there to publicize it to the entire world that they didn't like that.
The problem is that you've got the same people that are complaining about the density changes that as our cities grow need to happen so that your children and your grandkids can live close to you. They're the same people that are showing up and calling their elected officials that they elected and saying, don't you put this close to me. You got to put it someplace else.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's crazy because, the way planning works is that you generally try to put your highest density closest to the businesses, to the jobs. because it makes it so that we all spend less money on roads, and we spend less money on, we have less pollution because they're you don't have to drive too far away.
Absolutely. No, and I think the key to this segment is buy real estate if you can, because I think the moral of this segment is buy land because they're not making it anymore, or buy a home, buy single-family homes because they're not making them anymore. If you can get condos, if you can get townhouses, there is always a market for those affordable housing units. We love doing this show because it's always so much fun. There's always great things happening in Utah. You're listening to the KSL Home Show. I'm Heather Osmond, owner of Osmond Designs Furniture and Interior Design Stores. And we have Drew Armstrong, UtahRealEstate.net. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
It's the KSL Home Show, sponsored by Osmond Designs. If you like talking about Utah homes and real estate, then this is the place on KSL News Radio.
Welcome back into the Home Show today. Thank you for joining us. Lindsay Ertz here with Heather Osmond of Osmond Designs in Lehi and in Orem. And Heather, soon to be another store at Traverse Mountain in Lehi.
That's the plan. We have all of our plans in engineering right now, and as soon as those are done, we will shoot them over to City Council, and you'll get to build this brand new store with us on the KSL Home Show. We're really excited about it. It's a mountain modern, almost very edgy, so to speak, new commercial building there in the Traverse Mountain area on the east side. And I think our Salt Lake clients are just going to love that. As soon as we get that building built, we will sell our current Lehi store, move all the staff and all the furniture over to this new store. We're really excited about it.
I'll take a Traverse Mountain store because coming all the way down to Lehi is a little bit farther for me than Traverse Mountain, I feel like.
It's
Lehi
like a few
Main Street.
minutes.
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah.
And we do a lot of Salt Lake business. I think it's going to be even more convenient
it's right
for
off
all
the
of our people.
freeway. It's super easy.
Absolutely. We're really excited about it. No one has anything like it in all of Utah, so it's going to be good.
I saw the sign. We were going to Strap Tank.
Yeah.
And it's basically on the same little island that Strap Tank's on. And so there's this sign. I'm like, that's where Heather's new store is going to go. So, yeah, that's cool.
If you're just joining us, we are talking about affordable housing in Utah. Specifically, that land, I looked for 2 years for that store location.
Wow.
And it wasn't even listed. It's one of those knowing someone who knew someone who
that's awesome.
Found out about it. And, of course, I picked it up. So I think that's the Utah market right now. It's just trying to get in there and have real estate agents like Drew Armstrong and his partner Matthew Flinders who are in the market, who know things that maybe hit the market before they officially hit the market.
Well, there's some of that. Some of it is that when things come up, I mean, it's so interesting because when you're an agent and you have a house listed and you get 11 offers, how do you choose the right one to pick to move forward with? And the truth is that personal relationships, if everything else is equal, I mean, obviously we're trying to get our clients the most money because they have to become a buyer on the other end, and it's hard to find a place. Yeah. But personal relationships and really good lenders, if you've got a really great lender on the other side, I mean, when I'm looking through offers that have come in on a property that I have listed, I'm calling each of the lenders. And if I already have worked or done a couple of transactions, either with the agent or with the lender, oh my gosh, it goes so far. But it's like, I feel bad for inexperienced or new agents or agents that don't if you have a bad reputation, heaven help you in this market because you're not going to get anything under contract. So it's I had a great experience with this guy before. It was great. Everything else is all else is equal, so to speak. Then I'm going to go with that one. I'm going to help my clients see the value of that, and it's not just price. It's so much of it is
credibility
and terms, and how quickly can you close, and how
flexible are your closing dates, because maybe that seller has a reason why they need to move in a specific amount of time, because maybe that's the weekend that their other house is going to be able to be moved in. And that transition is so important, sometimes even more than money.
Yeah, absolutely. Transition or certainty. If you can build some certainty into the transaction, whether it be cash. I mean, Matthew and I have I think we bought 11 houses last year cash for our clients with our own funds. Then we sold their house, and then they bought the house from us.
Yeah. Is that what you have to do now?
It helps a lot because, again, a seller's looking for certainty. There was one house. It was an $800,000 house up in the top of Linden, and we bought that one, and we were the fourth from the top offer on that one, but we made it. I mean, I have a general contractor's license too. So I looked at it and I'm like, the only thing that's old that could be a problem on this is the furnace. And if it went out in the next 2 years, is that going to be a problem for you guys?
Right.
And they're like, nope, we love the house. And so I'm like, okay. So we made an offer that was not subject to an appraisal. It was not subject to any inspections. It was not subject to anything.
No repairs. Yeah.
No repairs.
Take it as is.
And you pick the close date anytime in the next 2 months.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, how can I not take that one? And
Make
so
it easy.
we got it, and it appraised for more than we bought it for.
Well, and even experienced agents like you don't have as many listings as they usually have, because as soon as you put it on the market,
It's
just
gone.
like you're saying, you have 11 offers. So then you have no listings. So if you are a seller, it's a great time to sell. If you are a buyer, you need to be pre-qualified. You need to have a big chunk of money to put down. You need to have real estate agents like Drew and Matthew that will lend you money so that you can come in as a cash buyer.
Right.
I mean, that's a dream scenario
Yeah,
for
for
most
real.
of these people, because a lot of people have to sell their home before they can buy a home because they don't have the money from selling their home to
Right.
buy the home. At the end of the day, Utah real estate is just so much fun. There is never a dull moment on the KSL Home Show. Every single week, we get to talk about the coolest, latest, and greatest things. In addition to that, we have the 2022 Parade of Homes coming up right now.
Well, I can't
Currently,
wait.
it's going in St. George. Utah Valley's right behind that. Salt Lake, Park City, Northern Wasatch. I mean, it's going to be a great year on this KSL Home Show. We're
Are
so
you doing
great.
to the
Oh,
interiors on them now?
we're trying. Yeah.
It's going to be awesome.
We're drinking out of a fire hydrant like the rest of the state, but it's a great time to remodel your home. If you're not planning on selling or buying a home, make your home somewhere you love to be. On the KSL Home Show. See you next week.